Hey guys, how's it going? Well, this daily challenge is actually really self-explanatory, so I'm not really going to go over it too much. I'm actually going to do a little bit of science for you guys, so I think you guys are going to like this. I noticed a couple people were saying that I don't do enough science videos, and I haven't been doing enough science videos, so I'm going to do this for you today. It's not going to be super duper fantastically awesome, but I think it's pretty interesting, so I think you guys might think it's a little bit interesting as well. So what do we got today? Today's daily challenge is called Mortar and Pestilence, and the only towers that are allowed are Glue, Banana Farm, Mortar. You start at round 1, and you get a free beekeeper, and the beekeeper helps quite a bit because it helps you get a couple farms really early on, and you can obviously lose a couple lives if you really need to farm, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. The only real problem is level 46 and 50, and that's the real main problem with this entire challenge. How do you beat Moabs with only mortars? And all you gotta do is really mass a bunch of 0-0 mortars or 1-1 mortars, and that's exactly what I did with a couple 0-4 mortars. So I mean, I'm just going to go over the strategy really frickin' fast, but I mean, if you guys lose a life here or there, it's really not that big of a deal. I lost one frickin' life, so I kind of got mad, but I decided not to just give up and restart. I just wanted to finish it. So, let's go over the strategy really fast. Well, I started off with a beekeeper, got a farm, then got a mortar, and I got a couple more farms, and the mortar is going to help you out a bunch. Don't worry if you lose a life here and there. It's not that big of a deal. And then just make sure for level 24 you at least get a 0-3 mortar, and 0-3 mortar is going to be your camo detection. And then, I mean, realistically after that there's really not that many problems going on until level 40. And then once you get to level 40, make sure you have a couple mortars, either 3-0 or something like that, or just a couple stronger mortars, or just go with quite a few 0-0 mortars and then a couple of regular strong mortars. And that's exactly what I did. I like mixing in a couple 0-0 mortars with the other stronger mortars. And one other thing about that is that people don't know that the mortars actually have a projectile, and that means that if you put mortars at different parts of the map, they'll actually shoot and hit the part of the map at a different rate or a different time than the other one. That's why I spread my mortars out a bunch, because it basically made an entire the entire time they were getting bombarded with explosions instead of just everything hitting all at once, which obviously isn't amazing all the time because you can get balloons that'll just slip right by. So that's really all I got for the strategy. Let's talk about temperature a little bit. You guys might think, like, well, what the heck are you going to talk about temperature? Well, I just wanted to talk about the lowest temperature possible and the highest temperature possible. And it's kind of interesting to me. Most people don't really think about it that interesting. Well, first of all, I think most people know about absolute zero. I'm not saying everybody, but most people know about absolute zero. So yes, there is a temperature where nothing can ever get colder. There's the lowest temperature possible in the entire universe, and we just basically make that the Kelvin scale. I don't know what it goes down to. I think it's negative 273 degrees Celsius, roughly right around there. So that's 0 on the Kelvin scale. And then you start thinking about all the crazy things that can get hotter and hotter and hotter. And eventually you just get to a point where, well, let me explain it this way. You have these things called wavelengths, okay? Which, if you know that energy or light realistically travel in waves, right? So pretend like there's a wave, okay? Maybe a foot long. You know, you guys can visualize a foot. Waves can be really big. They can be miles long, in fact. But let's just pretend like we have a foot-long wave. That's going from the middle of the wave to the top of the wave, back down to the middle of the wave is a wavelength. So, the more energy you have, what's going to happen to that wave, it's just going to keep scrunching and scrunching and scrunching. So if you add more energy to that wave, you're basically just making it, you know, maybe an inch. So that doesn't mean it has like 12 times more energy or anything like that exactly, but it does mean it has more energy. And as you keep crunching and crunching and crunching that wave, you're just getting more and more energy into that wave and more temperature, technically, that's being released. So what happens is eventually you get to this point where the wave gets crunched so much that it can't get crunched anymore. And that's called the Planck length. And there's crazy physics that go on and trying to understand or explain or anything the Planck length, so I'm not even going to talk about it. I don't even understand it. So I'm just going to tell you guys that there is the smallest distance possible in the universe. It's called a Planck length, and that is the hottest temperature that could possibly ever happen. And we don't really know what's going to happen if a hotter temperature happened than what would be allowed by the Planck length. We think just kind of like a black hole or something is going to spontaneously form, and maybe not exist for a long time. It'll probably dissipate, but that is just a lot of frickin' energy if you think about it. Okay. If that ever happened on Earth, probably everybody would die. Even if it was like a little tiny pea-sized thing, I'm not sure if everybody would die, but a lot of people in a really big radius would frickin' die. So if you think about it, that's a lot of energy. So I hope this was kind of interesting for you. To know that there is actually a maximum temperature and a minimum temperature. Kind of interesting. I never really thought about having a maximum temperature. Because when I say maximum temperature, I'm not talking about like, oh, 10 million degrees or something. I'm talking about, like, I don't even know the real number, but it's probably, don't quote me on this, something like blah 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 4 or something times 10 to the 26th or something, some ridiculous amount of number that we could never even really understand or fathom how big it actually is. So thank you guys again for watching. Appreciate likes. If you want to like this for me, I definitely appreciate that, and have a really freaking nice day.